When in doubt, pliers out. These are fresh bottles?
Yeah. From our friends at Fiberglass. I love this huge shop banner.
Reminds you where it came from.
System 2000. What we'll be using today. And I'm going to use the 2060 60-minute pot life hardener. And I don't remember the mix ratio of these guys, so I'm just going to read it.
I wonder if they named it 2060 because it's 60-minute cure.
Yes, because the 20-minute cure is named after this year.
Oh, 2020. Damn, that's creative.
3 to 1. So 3 parts epoxy resin to 1 part hardener. So let me go get our mixing sticks.
Mix it on up.
So we went ahead and mixed 3 parts 2000 to 1 part 2060. So I have a 60-minute pot life. It will fully harden at room temperature because it is the System 2000. So it doesn't need any type of crazy heat or anything like that. And it's thicker, so it's not like the System 4500, which is good for infusions, because what we're doing is just a wet layup on this roof, just like we did on the S30 roof, the 240Z's roof. So I have some crappy brushes, like usual.
Did you use your little fancy trick?
I didn't, because I ran out of super glue.
Damn.
But another trick that we're running is we put the first layer of carbon on dry. So we just need to really make sure that we get the first layer of resin wet all the way through this thing. Otherwise we're gonna have issues on the inside, which is all that matters on this roof, because we're not trying to be able to see it from the outside. It's only gonna be a visible carbon sheet from the inside. So that's why this first layer really matters. So obviously I didn't just apply this straight to the roof. I keep forgetting like there's a possibility of people like seeing this video, the very first video of us.
Oh, yeah,
we're
definitely.
not very good at like,
because
we just start doing stuff and we're like, yeah, people know what we're doing. In case you're new to the channel, which is a possibility.
I'm gonna say a high possibility, because there are probably a few people that's coming from the Connie following.
Oh yeah, if you're following Connie. We're not doing a very good job of explaining what we're doing. You might want to go to the 240Z build, episode 2. We do this exact same thing, but essentially what we did was straighten up the roof, the metal roof, as much as possible, and then primed it, blocked it, make sure it was super smooth. And it finished with like maybe like a 320 grit. So nothing crazy. We didn't go to like high polishing grits like 1,000 or 2,000 or something like that.
I already got a question.
What's that?
Are you purposely doing it kind of like not loading down?
I'm trying to keep the carbon where it is, because
Okay.
we have it set up exactly where it needs to be for this first layer. I want to make sure it doesn't shift too much. So see, while I'm dabbing it, it's actually lifting up a little bit. That's because I didn't use any Super 77, which is like that 3M spray tack adhesive stuff. That stuff works really well, but I didn't want to use it on this because if you stick it down one time and it needs to be moved, pulling it back up can distort the weave a good bit. I really want the inside of this weave, the inside layer for the first layer, I want the weave to be perfect, because that's the only one you're gonna see. So what else? Okay, so we got the metal roof all straightened up, and then we waxed it 3 times. So finished it with 320, ran some Pardal paste, this green wax. It smells good.
It's crazy. That's the
Except for Xavier, he doesn't like the smell of it. So we do three layers of that wax on, wax off, Mr. Miyagi style.
That's the key thing. If you don't do it like Mr. Miyagi, then you might. Why are you even?
Part's not going to come out right.
No, it's a key factor.
Karate Kid it out. Have you guys watched that new Karate Kid show?
I didn't even know they had a show.
Yeah, dude, it's called Cobra Kai.
Oh, that's what
my buddy Ryan keeps telling me about it. I have not watched it at all.
I saw it pop on Netflix. I was like, yo, this seems like a bootleg show from the 90s. But it said 2019.
It is pretty much. Bootleg show from the 90s. Yeah, we're just making a roof for Connie, guys. It's all good. It's all chill vibes here today. You need to know one thing about Xavier and I. We don't plan anything. We're not here planning our episodes. We were talking about this earlier, because then it kind of becomes a job. We're sitting here, we're working on stuff, and we're just documenting it, so.
It's Bob Ross style.
Yeah.
We was talking about the guinea horns earlier, but if y'all don't know what the guinea horns are, Google.
Oh my God. Yup. Exactly.
So it's stuck in my head. I can't get it out.
Oh, but in the last episode, we did say that if you have any questions about making a carbon roof and doing this exact thing, to comment in the last one. So we did. Xavier screenshotted a bunch of those bad boys. Screenshotted, is that a word? Screenshot?
I'm going to say possibility, yes. But I do have approximate knowledge, so I might be halfway wrong.
So we're going to go over those as well. Thank you for everybody that commented. Also commenting about the ECUs and stuff. We do have that situated. So if you watch the last video, you'll know what I'm talking about.
You know what? Let's set this up on a tripod and get these questions rolling.
Yeah.
Man, I'm trying to sound wet.
It was a little wet.
That's nasty. Question number 1. Do you actually get weight savings with the carbon fiber roof?
Yes, you definitely do. The amount of weight savings definitely has to do with the size of your roof. So I'd say the size of this roof should yield in better weight savings than my 240Z's roof. So my 240Z's roof is probably maybe like 2/3 this size. Just not as long.
Also, would it be creaky as the chassis flex? Like, would it crack?
If it's bonded correctly, it should not crack, no. A lot of the newer cars that we deal with here at the body shop that we fix, a lot of the panels are just glued together nowadays because adhesives have really come a long way. So as long as it's bonded correctly, it should not creak or crack or do anything like that. Now, if you don't make it thick enough, it might do a little weeble wobble when you're over bumps like Greg's car does.
Oh yeah.
Greg's 350Z carbon Kevlar roof that we made, we didn't make thick enough, and if you push in the center a lot, it'll go up and down and do some.
I have to remind myself, I don't have a camera, I have a recorder.
Yeah.
So any hand gestures
I gotta
pointed at me.
Look at you over there.
Hopefully the thing is in focus. Next. Oh, I like this question. Same guy. Walter Harris. Good one.
There's no rules. You can ask as many questions as you want.
He was curious about hail. Like, how would, I guess, the roof hold up to hail? Because I'm guessing he lives in Colorado. CO.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's a little embarrassing that I didn't know that.
It's all good. You don't live in Colorado.
Linjaman does.
Linjaman does live in Colorado. What's up, Linjaman? What was the question again? Oh, hail?
Yeah,
hail.
To hail.
Should hold up much better than a steel roof. The cool thing about carbon fiber parts is you don't got to worry about door dings because it does not dent. Your panel will just spring back. And the nice thing is if it's made with epoxy resin, it is much more likely to, just bounce back. Whereas if you're using other resins, there's a good chance that it can crack easier. A lot of fiberglass stuff is made with polyester resins, which don't yield as much like flexibility. Depends on the part you're working with, I guess, but most parts, unless it's like some really crazy like frame structure, you want to have some flex to them.
Got one from James Ford. Are drip rails stained?
Yes. These drip rails on here are stained. That is definitely, when you're working on a roof for an older vehicle, it's definitely one of the considerations. On my 240Z, I actually got rid of my drip rails, which is a little complex in itself because the roof skin, where it's connected to like the inner, like A-pillar and all the way back to like the quarter panel, where it's connected, the drip rail is actually where all the seams usually are, like all the spot welds. So you can't just cut it off, because then your roof will not be connected to the inner shell of your car. So what I did was like put a bunch of slices in it, cut it as short as I can right up to where the welds were, and I folded it over and did some mud work and made it all straight. But if you do that, then it's not gonna be the same shape as everybody else's roof, so that really depends. On this, what we're doing is I taped up the drip rail so it's not gonna get in any of the crevices or anything of the drip rail. And actually, after I'm done laying this out, I'm gonna cut it right in here so it sits in flush. And then what we'll do is we will bond it right up to the drip rail and then do a small line of body filler to a point where we know it's not gonna get in the way of any trim if they put it back on or something like that. But yeah, if you got an old car, most likely has a drip rail, and yeah, replacing a roof can be a little tricky. So what, like on our 240Z, what we did was we left an inch, maybe inch and a half of metal, ground all the paint off it, and that's what we bonded to. So you would do that behind the drip rail.
Okay. And he didn't ask this question. My question is, are you being conservative with the amount of epoxy that you use, or are you just going balls to the wall?
Very liberal right now. This is not conservative at all. This is, well, because like I said, I want to make sure we put this down dry to make sure that the seams and everything all look perfect, and that the weave didn't get distorted because it's the first layer.
That one guy, he also asked, I'm pretty sure he can see the answer to his question, but he was asking, like, do you put it on top, or do you like cut the skin off and then do your carbon fiber? But in our set,
you leave the skin.
We just slapped it on top, cut after.
Yeah, I mean, because otherwise your roof's gonna be all
Crooked.
weeble wobbly, and yeah.
Fresh threads.
How wide is this boy? This is the regular 52.
For those that are curious.
Oh, cool. So I did the first layer straight across, and that was 58 inches. So I can do this one 90 degrees offset to make it stronger. Cool. Covered in epoxy.
I feel like those little robot arms right now. Tracker cam.
Dude, this first little yellow string is the hardest thing to cut, always. We own here. Be nice if I made this table not connected to the wall, but we only have so much space back here. The back corner. We're just gonna set it. The corner you can set in line with that corner.
Ooh, smart. Do the 4-corner fold. I like how your handprint is just right there. All right, let's keep it rolling with these questions. Next one up from Matt Bernardo. What are the cons of dailying a carbon roof without a cage? Carbon roof car without a cage.
I don't see any specific cons, especially relating directly to the cage portion of it. I don't know why it would really be different. If you make a good carbon panel, it should be much stiffer than its steel counterpart anyways. So, I mean, maybe if you're running a carbon roof like this, where you're not gonna have a headliner, it'll sound a little tinny when rain gets on it. But that's also like if you're just running a metal roof without a headliner. So it really depends on like the design of your roof, and if you're doing it just like this, then yeah, Dave's definitely gonna hear each raindrop hit the roof of his car. But yeah, that's not a carbon roof specific thing. That's kind of just like a roof with no headliner thing, or no sound deadening in it. You could put a sound deadening panel on it, but then you're adding more weight, and then like, what's the point? So for those that don't know, we're using a 3K 2x2 twill carbon from Fiberglass and their System 2000 epoxy. What we're doing is we're laying up 3 layers of it. So we laid a layer of carbon down dry, put a layer of epoxy on top of it, wet it all out, running the second layer of carbon down on it. This one is at a 90-degree angle to the other weave. If you make a panel out of all of the exact same direction weave panels, it'll actually, in a roof, it'll bend diagonally in one direction very easily, but the other direction not. But if you alternate the pattern, it'll make the entire thing very stiff.
So this is layer number tray.
Yeah.
Cool.
Kind of just threw it on there. As long as the weave is going the right direction, it doesn't really matter how it looks, because again, we're painting the outside of this guy. Also, there's one more layer going down after this.
So the most important layers is always your first and last.
Yes. But also, I'll say sometimes, on this, your last layer is not going to matter either, since you're not going to see it from the outside.
Yeah, in this scenario, but...
In this scenario, but this is not a very usual scenario. Ugh. I should have taken that hand of yours. Now I'm pulling this up a bunch of times. This is why I didn't lay the resin on the first layer. So this is the 4th layer of carbon. Again, we're using a 3K carbon, and we're doing 4 layers of it. And I'm just smoothing out the very top of it, getting all the excess resin off. I'm just letting it drip off the end. And then what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna cut a piece of peel ply and set it on top of it, and then do the same thing, smooth out all the air bubbles in it. So what that'll do is that'll give us a nice even finish. Like right now I'm trying to get all this, getting little air bubbles out and get all this super smooth. But as soon as you use the peel ply, even right now it looks pretty slick. To use the peel ply, it'll give it a completely like uniform and even texture. That texture is also really good because what I'm gonna have to do is basically sand the whole thing completely flat, and I'll probably have to go through with like a really light skim coat of some metal glaze, because it's like super thin and it'll fill any little pot, like pinholes or anything like that I have in this.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be a nice texture to hold all the metal glaze because it's like a dry, almost like a bunch of little, you'll see when we pop it off.
So this is the peel ply.
Yes, sir.
What's the point of this? Hi.
What's the point? She should know. Jesus. I think one of the questions we were going to go over is more of my wife. Yes.
She brought
More of my wife. She brought me tea.
some glitter tea.
It's pink, it's purplish pink. It's got some glitter in it. It's delicious.
Hold on, let me see that again. Let's zoom in on close to
You gotta really kick it out in the sun to see the glitter, but it's got glitter in it.
Squidward's blood.
Squidward's blood.
Serial killer, I told you. You put ketchup on his fries, it's for a reason.
I don't put ketchup on my fries.
Dude, you told us you
I
put
dip
ketchup.
it, dude. I dip it.
Nah, you put it on your fries because you did that at lunch.
When I was in middle school, I had no choice because because they gave you a cup of fries, and what was it gonna do? Put them on the table?
Hey,
So you had to put the
if you got
ketchup on
justified, you still suspect in my book. But
Yo, don't say I'm suspect. Oh wait, do we got more questions?
I think I pretty much answered all of them.
Yeah, the one guy that we didn't answer is gonna be real upset with you.
Oh, the A and C pillar question. He said something about like connecting A and C pillars. I couldn't find the question again, but does that sound like a...
Well, the A and C pillars. Is it even a C pillar if there's no B pillar? If what he's saying is connecting, how do you connect the roof to the pillars? Well, you only cut off the outer shell of the roof. It'll still have a bunch of, pretty much every single car has an extra layer of structure, maybe like 3 or 4 inches thick around the whole perimeter of the roof, and a lot of times in the center, which this one does have a beam in the center, which mine didn't have. So you're never disconnecting the main structure from that. You're just re-gluing the outer shell onto the old outer shell. Got all 4 layers, and we got the final layer of PO ply. We got 90% of all of the little air bubbles out of it. So when this hardens up and I peel this off, it'll have a nice matte finish. It'll all be even. What this lets it do is a little bit of resin can actually come and flow out through this. And then any high spots of resin, this sits across and you squeegee out all the air, so it makes the last layer of resin across the whole thing even.
Is this a new tip that you just learned? Because we didn't do this the first time, right?
Yeah, no. I mean, dude, we learned a lot of tips since, that was 3 years ago. First roof that we did. But yeah, this is definitely the way to go. All right, so we're gonna come back tomorrow when this thing is all dry. Yeah, I got really impatient and didn't wait for Xavier, and I already pulled it all off. Yeah, but it came out great. It's a little bit of like high and low spots of just resin in here, and that's just when we laid the peel ply on it. But it gives you this really nice texture that you can sand with like 80 grit. It'll cut down real flat and straight. All these little high spots will cut down. And then we just need to bond it on really. But
So this is technically, when people say dry carbon, this is like essentially what it is.
yeah, that's what most of
Fresh out the peel ply.
Yep, the peel ply side really.
Probably like a little bit of matte clear.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will just leave it dry carbon on one side, and then the other side will be like the gloss carbon side. And that side they usually add a clear coat to. Because you want to add some type of UV protection. A lot of epoxy gel coats have UV protection in them, but I like to be doubly sure.
So I guess what the next step is, cutting off the old roof.
Yeah, so I don't want to cut off the old roof until we sand this all flat, but I did mark out where we're gonna cut the old roof off.
And look, he's just taking this off. Y'all can see how light it is.
Oh yeah, it's super light. And I got little bits I need to cut off of it. They're just hanging out.
So there's all this extra that will be trimmed.
Yeah. Turned out real good, but I pretty much just ran 2 3/4 inch pieces of tape around here, so it's like, get us a good 1.5 quarter around everything.
Because
I'll
you
be
say
cutting on the inside of this.
I say because you like to keep some of the original for bonding.
Yeah, and actually with the Celica in general, they have these little pins here along the front windshield and actually the rear windshield as well. So I actually couldn't, if you see when I made the roof, I actually just kind of let it drape over. I didn't actually tuck it in like I did my 240Zs.
Mm-hmm.
My 240Z roof comes all around here and actually tucks fully in. If you wanted to make a roof that was carbon visible from the outside, you would have to make it wrap around. I'm not sure exactly how important these pins are. I'm guessing they hold some type of trim for the windshield. But I'm not cutting these off for Dave, especially because the outside of this thing is going to be painted. So it's going to be bonded here at this strip, and then this edge right here is going to be rolled over a little bit, and then we're going to do a thin layer of body filler just to get rid of the seam.
Oh, okay.
So from the outside, it'll just be it'll look like this, but it won't have 3 gallons of mud on it and a
Dude, I can't wait to weigh this
sunroof plug
because of the mud. Like, I'm real curious of how heavy it is.
Yeah. So we ended up just going with 4 layers of carbon on the roof. I was contemplating going a little heavier on it or using a heavier fabric. I used 4 layers of 3K, but I forgot that there's actually a beam in here, right in the center, and they use this foam stuff, so it actually is in contact with the roof. So it's a nice support. It actually makes the rigidity of the center of the roof not that important of the actual panel because it's stabilized by that thing.
Oh, okay.
So, so with what we did, I think it should be perfect. We're gonna cut this off. We're actually not gonna bond it on right away because we need to paint the interior first. It's a lot easier painting the top of the roll cage and stuff like that with the roof off, trust me. That's what I did on my car, and it was great. I got one of the fenders off. They glue these things on here for some reason.
Dude,
It is a nightmare.
don't worry. This
It
side,
was like 30 minutes of just...
I'm gonna get that GoPro fired up. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm
we'll do some time lapse of how much. You pretty much, we tried, like, with heat it doesn't seem to help it at all. You just have to chisel at it, like just
Yeah, I'm curious of the thought
keep
process.
going.
Like, yo, we gonna add some bolts and slap
Yeah,
some glue
but I'm
down.
glad we got it off. Look at this. There's like old dust and like, this was an Arizona car, Dave said. So this is like 50-year-old
We gotta get
dust
him,
from Arizona.
get him a little vial, put it in there.
We do like, remember Crispy? I think it was like 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
He mixed like the sand from Ocean City with like tire
Yup.
chunks. We should get him to do a burnout and we'll mix it for him. Some Arizona dust. I already painted the inside of the doors and inside of the trunk.
But he didn't reveal the color yet, did he?
No, I've said it, but we don't know what.
Oh, I've been bleeping it out.